Okay, so if we look at carbon and the carbon cycle, we got a series of reservoirs and then main chemical forms that we find in it. All right, so for our first reservoir, we have the atmosphere. And the main chemical forms found in the atmosphere are carbon dioxide and methane, and a very small amount of carbon monoxide. So that is 700 gigatons, 1.2 gigatons, and a trace amount of carbon monoxide. It's quite fortunate because it's a bit toxic. Next one then is the hydrosphere. And that's our reservoir, sorry. And then we have surface waters, and this is dissolved into them. And we have the deep ocean, and we have 500 gigatons and 35,000 gigatons. Okay. Next one then is the biosphere. That's our next reservoir. And then we have things like carbohydrates. And these can be quite complex carbohydrates as well. So things like cellulose and lignin would be good examples, but also simple ones like sugars as well. You've got proteins and you've got lipids. And these are used for plants and animals to store energy long term because they're not water soluble. And so living organisms make up 470 gigatons, and dead, so that's living, and dead organisms make up 3,700 gigatons. Okay, and then the lithosphere makes up our last one. And this is made up of things like carbonaceous rocks, so that's things like limestone, and then also fossil fuels. So sedimentary carbonates make up 20 million gigatons, and fossil fuels make up 10,000 gigatons. All right. Now, if we just talk briefly about the main processes in the carbon cycle, one of the most important you'll have seen is photosynthesis. So this is where we have some basic inorganic molecules like water and carbon dioxide. And in the presence of light energy, and chlorophyll, it converts this simple inorganic carbon dioxide into something really valuable, a high energy store of carbohydrate. So glucose, which is C6H12O6, and also oxygen as a waste product. And plants can take this high energy store and create complex organic molecules such as the proteins, lipids, and carbohydrates that are used to make up plants, and then that is transferred through the food chain. So that's a really important one to know about. Another really important one then is respiration. So this releases the energy and puts it to work. And we have two metabolic processes. We have aerobic respiration, which is in the presence of excess oxygen. And we have anaerobic respiration, which is in the lack of or absence of oxygen. This is more efficient, the aerobic, and this is anaerobic is less efficient. And we find that aerobic respiration produces carbon dioxide as a waste product, which returns to the atmosphere. Anaerobic respiration returns methane, CH4, back to the atmosphere. Food webs are how this complex carbon captured by photosynthesis are transferred to different organisms. So these are feeding relationships, transferring carbon as complex organic compounds. So they're the lipids and proteins and carbohydrates. And fossilization is the next one. So this is where you have incomplete decomposition. Typically, but not always, in anaerobic conditions because it's less efficient, so less of it gets used up. And this is turned into stuff like fossil fuels. And also you have some carbon containing skeletons or body parts, so things like corals and mollusks, which is things like snails and stuff like that, and phytoplankton. These all contain carbonates in their shells, which then can be sort of deposited and form things like limestone. And this is sort of a process of sequestration, long-term storage. And the last one then is combustion, which we think of as a very human activity, but this is where things like natural forest or grass fires from things like lightning, which you find some ecosystems are really sort of dependent on that occurring. And this results in carbon dioxide being released from organic molecules. So organic carbon is released by combustion back into the atmosphere as CO2.